Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
I used to think the worst thing about finding your wife's burner phone was the betrayal. Turns out, it's the waiting. The sitting there at 3 in the morning, staring at explicit texts from some corporate asshole named Damien Voss, wondering how long you've been the fool in this equation. My name is Oliver Harlan. Ollie to everyone who doesn't want to sound like they're addressing a British butler. 42 years old, former IT consultant turned home renovator, currently sitting in my kitchen in suburban Westfield, Connecticut, holding evidence that my 19-year marriage is a joke. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Damien to my wife Celeste. Can't wait to taste you again tomorrow night. Same hotel? I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode. Through the kitchen window, I could see Marcia Kellerman's living room lights still on. Our neighbor never slept, probably hoping to catch some suburban drama to fuel her morning gossip sessions. Well, Marcia, tonight's your lucky night. Celeste was supposed to be at a corporate communications conference in Boston. 3 days of networking and strategic planning, she'd said, kissing my cheek with those perfectly glossed lips that apparently had better things to do than kiss her husband. She'd been gone since Tuesday. It was now Thursday night, technically Friday morning, and according to this phone, she'd been at the Marriott downtown with her company's senior vice president instead. The house felt different now. 20 years of mortgage payments, renovations, and memories, and suddenly it felt like a museum dedicated to my own stupidity. The hardwood floors I'd refinished by hand, the crown molding I'd installed room by room, the kitchen island where Celeste used to sit with her laptop while I cooked dinner, all of it tainted by the knowledge that she'd been planning her escapes from this life, from me. I scrolled through more messages. Months of them. Hotel reservations, restaurant bookings, even a weekend spa trip I'd paid for, thinking she was going with her friend Kendra from HR. The timestamps told the real story. Every late meeting, every client dinner, every girls' weekend, lies, all of it. My phone rang, making me jump. The caller ID showed Celeste's office number. Hello, Mr. Harlan? This is Janet from Pinnacle Communications. I'm sorry to call so late, but I'm trying to reach Celeste. She missed her presentation at the Boston conference today, and we can't seem to locate her. I felt something cold settle in my chest. What do you mean she missed it? She never checked in. The conference organizers said she wasn't registered. I thought maybe there was some confusion with the dates. No confusion, I said quietly. Thanks for letting me know. I hung up and stared at the burner phone. Another message had come in. Ollie working late again? Perfect. Room 412 in 20 minutes. The timestamp was from 2 hours ago. I walked to my home office and fired up my laptop. If Celeste thought she could play games, she'd forgotten who she married. 20 years in IT had taught me a few things about digital breadcrumbs, and my wife had never been as careful as she thought. Her laptop was still logged into the home network. Amazing how trusting cheating spouses could be. I accessed her cloud storage and found a folder labeled Travel Receipts. Inside were photos that made my stomach turn. Celeste and Damien in various hotel rooms, restaurants, even what looked like his apartment. She documented her affair like a scrapbook. And there were financial records too. Charges on a credit card I didn't know existed. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry purchases. She'd been funding this relationship with money from our joint savings account. Money I'd earned renovating houses while she climbed the corporate ladder. I printed everything. Every photo, every receipt, every incriminating text message. The printer worked steadily for 20 minutes, creating a paper trail of betrayal that would make even the most optimistic marriage counselor reach for the divorce papers. By the time I finished, dawn was breaking over our perfect suburban neighborhood. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by evidence of my wife's double life. The rational part of my brain said to call a lawyer, file for divorce, split everything 50-50, and move on. The other part of my brain, the part that remembered every anniversary dinner, every promise, every time she'd looked me in the eye and lied, wanted something else entirely. Revenge is a dish best served cold, they say, but sometimes room temperature works just fine. I picked up my phone and called Pete Kowalski, who owned Murphy's Tavern downtown and had been my friend since high school. Jesus, Ollie, it's 6 in the morning. Someone better be dead. Not yet, I said. But I need a drink and some advice. You open early today. For you, give me an hour. And Ollie, you sound like hell. That's because I've been living in it for months without knowing it. I gathered up all the printed evidence and put it in a manila envelope. Then I went upstairs to pack a bag. I was done being Oliver Harlan, the faithful husband. Time to become someone else entirely. Murphy's Tavern opened at 7 a.m. for the construction crews and shift workers. But Pete had the coffee ready and the lights on when I arrived. The place smelled like stale beer and industrial cleaning solution, exactly the same as it had 20 years ago when we'd celebrated our high school graduation here with fake IDs and dreams of conquering the world. "You look like someone ran you over with a cement truck," Pete said, pouring 2 cups of coffee that could strip paint. He was built like a beer keg with arms, all muscle and attitude, with a Boston accent that got thicker when he was pissed off. "What happened?" "Or knife." I slid the envelope across the bar. "My wife's been screwing her boss for months." "Oh knife." Pete opened the envelope and whistled low. "Holy shit, Ollie. This is comprehensive." "Oh knife. 20 years in IT. I'm thorough." "Oh knife." He flipped through the photos and receipts, shaking his head. "Damien Voss. I know this asshole. Comes in here sometimes with his corporate buddies, acts like he owns the place, drives that white Tesla, tips like crap, treats the waitresses like furniture." "Oh knife." "You've seen him with Celeste." "Oh knife. Now that I think about it, yeah, last month, maybe 6 weeks ago. They were in the corner booth, real cozy. I thought maybe it was a business meeting, but..." He gestured at the photos. "Guess not." "Oh knife." I drank my coffee and felt something hard crystallize in my chest. It wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was humiliation. They'd been flaunting their affair in public, in my own neighborhood, probably laughing about how clueless I was. "So what's the plan?" Pete asked. "Divorce lawyer? Private investigator? Onai Vortound?" Something like that. My phone buzzed. A text from Celeste. "Conference running long. Won't be home until Saturday. Love you. Or knife." I showed Pete the message. He snorted. "Unbelievable. She's still lying." "Or knife. Not for much longer." "Or knife." I spent the morning driving around town, thinking. Westfield was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business, where reputations mattered, and social standing could make or break careers. Celeste had built her life on being the perfect corporate wife, the woman who had it all together. She served on charity boards, organized neighborhood events, and cultivated an image of success and respectability. That image was about to crumble. I started with the basics. I called our joint credit card companies and put fraud alerts on all the accounts. I contacted our bank and moved half of our savings into a separate account. I called our daughter Maddie at college and told her I might be hard to reach for a few days, but that everything was fine. She was 19, smart, and had probably sensed the tension between her parents for months. Then I got creative. Pinnacle Communications had a company directory on their website. I found Damien Voss's contact information, including his home address. He lived in Riverside Towers, one of those glass and steel luxury complexes that catered to executives who wanted to feel important. The kind of place with a concierge and valet parking and monthly fees that cost more than most people's mortgages. I drove over and found his white Tesla in the parking garage. Beautiful car, pristine paint job, custom wheels, probably cost more than I made in 6 months. I walked around it slowly, admiring the craftsmanship. Then I keyed cheater into the driver's side door. It felt good, better than good. 20 years of being the nice guy, the understanding husband, the man who fixed things and kept quiet and never made waves. All of that disappeared as I dragged my house key across that perfect white paint. I let the air out of all 4 tires for good measure. Then I took out a condom I'd bought at the gas station, still in the wrapper, and left it on the windshield under the wiper blade. I snapped a photo with my phone and sent it to the number on Celeste's burner phone with a simple message. "Nice ride. Shame about the rubber." My phone rang 30 seconds later. Unknown number. Who the hell? Is this? The voice was smooth, educated, with the kind of confidence that came from never being challenged. "This is the husband," I said calmly, "and you're the dead man. Listen, you psycho." I hung up and turned off my phone. Let him sweat for a while. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation. I researched Damien Voss online, learning everything I could about Pinnacle Communications' golden boy. Graduated from Yale, MBA from Wharton, climbed the corporate ladder with the kind of ruthless efficiency that impressed boards and destroyed subordinates. Married to a woman named Patricia, 2 kids in private school, member of the country club, season tickets to the Yankees. He had everything to lose. Perfect. I also researched corporate policies on workplace relationships. Pinnacle Communications had strict rules about fraternization between supervisors and subordinates. Relationships had to be disclosed to HR, and in cases where there was a direct reporting structure, one of the parties had to transfer to another department. Celeste reported directly to Damien. They'd never disclosed their relationship. That was grounds for termination. By evening, I had a plan. Not just for revenge, but for total destruction. I was going to tear down everything they'd built, piece by piece, and make sure everyone in town knew exactly what kind of people they really were. My phone rang. Celeste. Ollie, someone vandalized Damien's car at work today. It's terrible. Who would do something like that? Probably someone who doesn't like cheating assholes, I said. There was a long pause. What did you say? You heard me. Come home, Celeste. We need to talk. I'm still at the conference. No, you're not. You're at the Marriott downtown in room 412 with your boss, and you've been lying to me for months. Come home now, or I'm coming to get you. The line went dead. I smiled and poured myself a beer. Round 1 to me. Celeste came home at midnight, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors like gunshots. I was waiting in the living room with a glass of whiskey and a manila envelope full of her secrets. She looked perfect, as always. Blonde hair in a sleek bob, makeup flawless despite the late hour, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than most people's car payments. But I could see the cracks now, the way her eyes darted around the room, the slight tremor in her hands as she set down her purse. We need to talk, she said, trying to regain control of the situation. Yes, we do. I slid the envelope across the coffee table. Start with this. She opened it and went pale. Photo after photo of her with Damien, receipts from their romantic getaways, printouts of their text messages. Her perfect composure cracked like ice in spring. Ollie, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain how you've been stealing money from our joint account to fund your affair? Can you explain how you've been lying to my face for months? Can you explain why you thought I was stupid enough not to figure it out? She sat down heavily in the chair across from me, still clutching the photos. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're screwing your boss. You've been planning to leave me, and you're too much of a coward to be honest about it. That's not true. Which part? The screwing, the planning, or the cowardice? She started crying then, the kind of calculated tears that had worked on me for years. Perfect droplets that didn't smudge her mascara. I never meant for this to happen. It just developed. Damien and I work closely together, and we have so much in common. Like what? A mutual love of lying and betrayal? He understands my career ambitions. He supports my goals. He makes me feel appreciated, and I don't. She looked at me with something like pity. Ollie, you're a good man. You're stable and reliable and safe. But I need more than that. I need someone who challenges me, who excites me, who can match my ambition. Someone with money. That's not fair, isn't it? Let's see. Yale graduate, MBA from Wharton, senior VP salary, country club membership, drives a Tesla. Yeah, I can see how his ambition would be exciting. She wiped her eyes carefully, preserving her makeup. I was going to tell you, after the promotion comes through, Damien's been promised the regional director position, and he wants me as his communications manager. We were going to relocate to Boston together. How thoughtful of you to plan my future without consulting me. I know you're hurt. Hurt. I stood up, feeling 20 years of suppressed anger finally break free. I'm not hurt, Celeste. I'm furious. I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed that I wasted 2 decades of my life on someone who thinks marriage is a convenience store. Use it until you find something better, then walk away without paying the bill. It doesn't have to be ugly. We can get divorced quietly, split everything fairly. Fair? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to me. You think there's anything fair about this? You think you can just walk away with half of everything I've built while you've been planning your escape with Prince Charming? She stood up too, and I saw a flash of the steel that had made her successful in corporate America. I have rights, Ollie, legal rights. You can't intimidate me. I'm not trying to intimidate you. I'm trying to educate you. See, you think this is about money and property and who gets what in the divorce, but you're wrong. This is about consequences. What do you mean? I picked up another envelope from the side table. This is a copy of Pinnacle Communications Employee Handbook. Page 47 covers workplace relationships between supervisors and subordinates. Page 53 covers undisclosed financial conflicts of interest. Page 61 covers the use of company resources for personal activities. Her face went white. You wouldn't. I already did. I sent a complete dossier to your HR department this afternoon. Photo.
90 days of calls to the same number. You bought a burner for her.
Give it to me.
One reason not to drop it.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Receipts, text messages, hotel records, credit card statements, everything. You bastard. You could destroy my career. Your career. What about my marriage? What about my trust? What about 20 years of my life that you flushed down the toilet for a few months of excitement? She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm going to a hotel. We'll settle this through lawyers. Good luck with that. I froze our joint accounts this morning. Your personal credit cards are maxed out from all those romantic getaways, and I had your car repossessed an hour ago. She spun around. What? It was in my name. Funny how that works. How am I supposed to get to work? How am I supposed to call Damien? I'm sure he'll be happy to help. Assuming he still has a job after HR finishes their investigation. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I don't know who you are anymore. I'm the same person I've always been. The difference is, I'm not pretending you're someone you're not. After she left, I poured another whiskey and sat in the silence of my empty house. It should have felt like victory, but mostly it felt like grief. 20 years of marriage, gone. A life I'd thought was real, revealed as an elaborate lie. But the grief was mixed with something else. Something cold and focused and absolutely ruthless. And I wasn't done with Celeste and Damien, not even close. The next morning brought consequences faster than I'd expected. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I let them go to voicemail while I made coffee and planned my next move. The first voicemail was from Kendra Walsh, Celeste's best friend and Pinnacle Communications HR director. Ollie, we need to talk. Please call me back as soon as possible. The second was from someone named Patricia Voss. Mr. Harlan, this is Damien's wife. I think we should meet. The third was from Damien himself, and his smooth corporate voice had developed a distinct edge. You've made a serious mistake, Harlan. This isn't over. I called Patricia back first. She suggested meeting at the Starbucks on Elm Street, neutral territory. I found her easily. She looked like Celeste might in 10 years, if Celeste had been worn down by disappointment and betrayal. Blonde hair going gray at the roots, expensive clothes that couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, she said, clutching a coffee cup like a lifeline. I need to know, is it true, the photos you sent to HR? Every word, every image. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. She laughed bitterly. I've suspected for months. The late meetings, the business trips, the way he started working out and buying new clothes. Classic midlife crisis behavior. I just didn't want to believe he was that cliché. How long have you been married? 15 years. 2 kids, mortgage, the whole suburban dream. She looked out the window at the morning traffic. I built my life around his career, gave up my own ambitions to support his climb up the corporate ladder. And this is how he repays me. What are you going to do? I've already filed for divorce. My lawyer says the evidence you provided will ensure I get everything. The house, the cars, the kids, most of his assets. He's going to learn what it feels like to start over with nothing. I felt a stab of satisfaction. Good for you. What about you and Celeste? Same plan, scorched earth. She smiled for the first time since I'd met her. I like you, Oliver. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone weaker, someone who'd roll over and let them walk all over him. Damien always said your wife could do better, that she was wasted on a blue-collar husband. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. He said that? Multiple times. At company parties, social events. He made it sound like he was doing her a favor by having an affair with her. That piece of information settled into my brain like a seed in fertile soil. Not only had they betrayed their spouses, they'd mocked us, made us the butt of their private jokes. The humiliation ran deeper than I'd realized. Patricia, would you be interested in a little payback? Her eyes sharpened. What did you have in mind? We spent the next hour planning. Patricia had inside information about Damien's work habits, his social schedule, his weaknesses. I had technical skills and a growing network of people who'd been hurt by Celeste and Damien's arrogance. By the time we parted ways, I had enough ammunition to destroy both of their reputations permanently. The first shot was fired that afternoon. I created a fake email account and sent anonymous messages to everyone in Pinnacle Communications' company directory. The subject line read, "The Real Cost of Corporate Leadership." The body contained a link to a private website I'd built overnight, featuring a carefully curated selection of photos and documents that told the story of Celeste and Damien's affair. Nothing pornographic or illegally obtained. Just hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and a few carefully cropped photos that made their relationship obvious without being explicit. The kind of evidence that would spread through the office gossip network like wildfire. The second shot came an hour later. I called the local newspaper's business reporter and offered an exclusive story about corporate corruption at one of the region's largest employers. I had documentation of expense account fraud, misuse of company resources, and violations of workplace ethics policies. The third shot was more personal. I printed flyers with photos of Celeste and Damien together under the headline "Homewreckers" and posted them on telephone poles around their neighborhood. Juvenile? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. My phone rang constantly throughout the day. Reporters wanting comments, lawyers making threats, friends and neighbors expressing shock and sympathy. I ignored most of them, but I did take one call that surprised me. "Mr. Harlan, this is Janet from Pinnacle Communications. We spoke the other night about Celeste missing the conference." "I remember. I wanted to let you know that both Celeste and Damien have been terminated, effective immediately. The company is also pursuing legal action to recover misappropriated funds." "How much money are we talking about?" "I can't give you specific numbers, but it's substantial. Hotel rooms, restaurants, travel expenses, even some jewelry purchases, all charged to company accounts and disguised as business expenses." I felt a savage satisfaction. "Thank you for letting me know. Mr. Harlan, for what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened to you. You seem like a decent man." "I'm trying to be." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely true. The decent man would have filed for divorce quietly and moved on with his life. What I was doing went far beyond seeking justice. This was revenge, pure and simple, and I was enjoying every minute of it. That evening, I drove past Damien's apartment complex. His Tesla was gone, probably repossessed or hidden somewhere safe. The building's concierge confirmed that Mr. Voss had moved out that morning, forwarding address unknown. One down, one to go. Celeste lasted 3 more days before she cracked. I found her sitting on my front porch Saturday morning, looking like a refugee from her own life. Her perfect hair was unwashed, her designer clothes wrinkled, and her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. "We need to talk," she said. "I'm listening." "Can we go inside? The neighbors are watching." I looked around and saw curtains twitching in windows up and down the street. Marcia Kellerman was openly staring from her front yard, pretending to water plants that didn't need watering. "Let them watch," I said. "You never cared about their opinions before." "Please, Ollie. I know you're angry, but this has gone too far. I lost my job. I can't get another one because everyone in the industry knows what happened. I'm staying in a motel because I can't afford anything else. Where's Damien? I thought he was going to take care of you." Her face crumpled. "He won't return my calls. His wife froze all his accounts, and he's facing criminal charges for embezzlement. He said he can't be seen with me anymore because it would hurt his legal case." "So the man who was going to challenge you and excite you abandoned you the minute things got difficult? How surprising. You've destroyed my life." "No, Celeste, you destroyed your life. I just made sure everyone could see it." She started crying again, but these weren't the calculated tears from before. These were raw, desperate, the kind that came from losing everything and realizing there was no way back. "What do you want from me?" she sobbed. "What will it take for you to stop?" I looked at this woman I'd loved for 20 years, this stranger who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my trust, and felt something cold settle in my chest where my heart used to be. "I want you to understand what you've done," I said quietly. "I want you to know what it feels like to lose everything you've built. I want you to experience the humiliation of having everyone you know see you for what you really are. I get it, okay? I understand. I made a mistake." "A mistake? You think this was a mistake?" I stood up, and she actually flinched. "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or missing an anniversary. What you did was a choice, A series of choices. Every time you lied to me, every time you met him, every time you used our money to fund your affair. Those were choices. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ollie. Can't we work this out? Can't we try to save our marriage? I looked at her for a long moment, this broken woman who'd once been the center of my world. Part of me, a small, weak part, wanted to say yes, wanted to forgive her and pretend none of this had happened, wanted to go back to the comfortable lie we'd been living. But that part was overwhelmed by something harder and colder and infinitely more satisfying. No, I said, we can't. I went inside and came back with a manila envelope. Divorce papers, already filed. You can contest them if you want, but given the evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, I wouldn't recommend it. She opened the envelope with shaking hands. You're taking everything. The house, the cars, the savings. I'm taking what I earned. What we built together is gone, Celeste. You destroyed it when you decided our marriage wasn't worth your loyalty. This is cruel. This is beyond anything I deserve. Is it? Let me tell you what I deserved. I deserved a wife who honored her vows. I deserved honesty. I deserved respect. I deserved to know that the woman I was working to support wasn't planning to leave me for someone with more money. It wasn't about money, wasn't it? Funny how you fell in love with the richest, most powerful man in your office. Funny how all your relationship problems with me disappeared the minute you found someone who could offer you a bigger house and a better lifestyle. She had no answer for that. Sign the papers, Celeste. Take what I'm offering and disappear. Because if you fight me on this, I promise you'll get nothing. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I don't know, and I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. She signed the papers with tears streaming down her face. When she was done, she looked up at me with something like hope. Maybe someday you'll be able to forgive me. Maybe, I said, but I'll never forget. After she left, I sat on my porch and watched her walk away from our house for the last time. Marcia Kellerman came over immediately, practically vibrating with curiosity. Is everything okay, Ollie? Everything's perfect, Marcia. My wife just signed our divorce papers. Oh my goodness, I had no idea you two were having problems. I looked at her with amusement. Of course you did. You know everything that happens on this street. She blushed but didn't deny it. Well, if you need anything, a home-cooked meal, someone to talk to, you just let me know. Actually, there is something you can do for me. Anything. Spread the word that I'm single again. I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy my freedom. 6 months later, I was finishing up a kitchen renovation for the Hendersons when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but something about it seemed familiar. Oliver Harlan. Mr. Harlan, this is Patricia Voss. We met at Starbucks a few months ago. Of course. How are you doing? Much better, actually. The divorce was finalized last week. I got the house, the kids, and most of Damien's assets. He's living in a studio apartment and working as a sales associate at a car dealership. I smiled. Good for you. I was wondering, would you like to have dinner sometime? As friends, I mean. I know we both went through similar experiences, and I thought maybe we could compare notes on starting over. I looked around the kitchen I'd been working on. New cabinets, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. Everything fresh and clean and full of possibility. I'd like that, I said. We met that Friday at a restaurant downtown, neutral territory again. Patricia looked different, younger somehow, despite the gray in her hair. There was a lightness about her that hadn't been there before, as if someone had lifted a weight from her shoulders. You look good, I said. I feel good, free. It's amazing how much energy you have when you're not constantly worrying about someone else's lies. We talked about our divorces, our kids, our plans for the future. She was thinking about going back to school, maybe getting that degree she'd abandoned 15 years ago. I was considering expanding my renovation business, maybe hiring some help. What about Celeste? She asked. Have you heard anything? She moved to Florida, working as a receptionist at a dental office, according to Maddie, living in a one-bedroom apartment and driving a 10-year-old Honda. Do you feel bad for her? I considered the question seriously. No, I feel bad for the man I used to be, the one who trusted her. But she made her choices. She has to live with the consequences. And Damien. Last I heard, he was trying to get hired at a marketing firm in Hartford. Nobody in the corporate world will touch him after the embezzlement charges. He's essentially starting over at 40 with nothing. Patricia raised her wine glass. To starting over? I clinked my glass against hers. to new beginnings. As the evening progressed, I realized I was enjoying myself, really enjoying myself, for the first time in months. Patricia was intelligent, funny, and refreshingly honest. She'd been through the same betrayal I had, understood the same pain, and come out the other side stronger. "Can I ask you something?" she said as we waited for dessert. "Sure. Do you ever regret it, the way you handled everything? Some people might say you went too far." I thought about it. The public humiliation, the financial ruin, the systematic destruction of 2 lives. It had been thorough, ruthless, and absolutely devastating. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it. They destroyed my marriage, stole my money, and laughed about it behind my back. They thought I was weak, that I'd just roll over and let them walk away with everything. They were wrong. What if they'd apologized? What if they'd tried to make amends?" Celeste did apologize. At